Hey, what's up everyone? Before we jump into today's absolute chaos, I need your help. We're grinding hard to hit that 1,000 subscriber milestone, and every single subscription gets us closer. If you're vibing with the content, smash that subscribe button, hit the bell, and let's build this community together. Your support literally fuels everything we do here. Now let's get into this madness. Look, I can't even blame anyone who sits back and says they don't trust this coaching staff to develop a quarterback or properly evaluate the position. The Browns have made some genuinely bizarre decisions at quarterback over the last several years. I don't fault anyone for questioning whether these guys actually know what they're doing at this point. Picture this scenario. The Browns genuinely believed they were about to live their quarterback fairy tale, the one they've been chasing for decades. Instead, they got ghosted harder than someone who promised to text back and never did. Kevin Stefanski is reportedly having a complete meltdown after Shedeur Sanders walked away from Cleveland like the city was nothing more than a bad layover between better destinations. This isn't just another roster shuffle or typical offseason transaction. This is a full-blown organizational crisis with more drama than anyone could script. What actually happened behind closed doors? Why would Shedeur just leave like that? And why is Stefanski reacting like his entire world just collapsed? Let's break down every piece of this absolute disaster. For years, the Cleveland Browns have been stuck in this never-ending cycle of quarterback disappointment that feels almost intentional at this point. They've burned through quarterbacks faster than most people change their phone cases. One mistake, one injury, one bad game, and suddenly it's next man up all over again. Every single fall, a new name gets slapped on the back of that cursed jersey like some kind of tragic tradition. It's basically a patchwork quilt of failure, a monument to every supposed franchise savior who arrived with hope and left with nothing but regret. The locker room isn't just a workplace anymore. It's become a graveyard of shattered dreams, missed throws, and Sundays that felt more like punishment than professional football. The fans were absolutely desperate for any kind of miracle, for someone to finally break the curse. And for one brief, shining moment, it actually looked like they had found their guy. Then that hope disappeared faster than free wings at a game day party, leaving everyone wondering how it all went wrong so quickly. Then Shedeur Sanders entered the picture, and everything felt different. He wasn't just another prospect or developmental project. This was the golden ticket, the flashy hope everyone had been waiting for. A quarterback with genuine swagger and a last name that commands attention across the entire sports world. This wasn't some random late-round gamble or reclamation project from another team's practice squad. This was legitimate football royalty walking through the door. The son of Deion Primetime Sanders himself, Shedeur wasn't just carrying a football into Cleveland. He was bringing an entirely new energy, a different kind of confidence, massive hype, and the legitimate promise that the Browns might finally stop being the league's favorite punchline and punching bag. People actually started believing again, which in Cleveland is basically asking for heartbreak, but they couldn't help themselves. The buzz was real, the excitement was genuine, and for once the future looked bright instead of bleak. But just as quickly as he arrived, he was gone. No emotional goodbye speech, no heartfelt press conference with tears and gratitude, not even a simple thanks for the opportunity post on social media. Shedeur Sanders just vanished into thin air like he was never really there. One minute he's in town, meeting with coaches and touring the facility. The next minute he's treating Cleveland like a terrible first date where you fake an emergency text and bounce before dessert arrives. Stefanski is left sitting there alone, staring at his plans and his playbook, wondering how everything fell apart that fast and that completely. It's wild, it's messy, it's confusing, and somehow it's the most Cleveland thing that could possibly happen. This franchise has a special talent for snatching defeat from the jaws of victory, and this situation might be their masterpiece. The story is just getting started, and already it feels like a disaster movie where you know how it ends, but you can't look away. Kevin Stefanski absolutely did not take this development well, not even remotely close to well. When you're the head coach in Cleveland, every single season ages you like dog years. Your stress wrinkles develop their own stress wrinkles. And when the one quarterback you genuinely believed could save your job and your legacy suddenly leaves town without warning, you don't just shrug it off with coffee and move forward. You completely explode. Stefanski's reaction wasn't the calm, measured, professional leader moment that the PR department department desperately hoped for and probably scripted? Absolutely not. This was the kind of full-blown meltdown that makes a toddler losing it in the grocery store look like peaceful meditation. Word circulating around the locker room suggests Stefanski was genuinely obsessed with Shedeur in a way that went beyond normal coaching interest. He probably spent countless hours daydreaming about future game plans, drawing up plays on random napkins during dinner, maybe even naming his fantasy football team something like Shedeur Soldiers or Sander Squad, and then reality crashed down on him harder than a defensive end blindside hit straight to the ego. The man went from planning his dream season with his dream quarterback to complete disaster mode practically overnight, and you could almost hear the franchise curse cackling from somewhere deep in the stadium rafters. The Browns' curse is absolutely alive and thriving, more powerful than ever. This is the exact same organization that once had the opportunity to draft both Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson in the same draft and somehow passed on both of them. They literally walked away from 2 future MVP quarterbacks like someone trading away winning lottery tickets for expired coupons. They've consistently turned promising young stars into cautionary tales and transformed quarterbacks with potential into late-night television punchlines. Johnny Manziel didn't become the franchise icon everyone hoped for. He became a Vegas tabloid headline and a warning label. It's like every single time the Browns finally open a door to potential success, they immediately trip over the welcome mat, crash face first into the ground, and break something important on the way down. So when Stefanski received that phone call, when someone delivered the news that Shedeur was actually gone and not coming back, he wasn't just angry or frustrated. He was absolutely crushed on a level that goes beyond professional disappointment. Imagine spending months meticulously building your dream house from the ground up, laying every brick perfectly, painting every single wall exactly how you envisioned it, arranging the furniture just right, only for a massive tornado to tear the entire thing apart the day before you planned to move in. That's exactly where Stefanski is right now, standing alone in the rubble of his own hopes and plans, slowly realizing that the Browns' curse just struck again with more force and cruelty than ever before. That basically sums up the entire Cleveland Browns experience in one brutal sentence. They build something promising, they generate hype and excitement, they dare to dream about success, and then the storm hits like an unstoppable freight train and destroys everything. Every single time it feels like they've finally found the one, that special player who can change everything. The curse mysteriously wakes up from hibernation and wrecks it all. Now the massive question hanging over the entire league is simple but loaded. Why would Shedeur Sanders voluntarily walk away from the Browns in the first place? Cleveland was completely ready to hand him the keys to the entire city, guarantee him a starting spot in the most competitive football league in the world, provide a fan base absolutely desperate for any kind of hero, and shine a spotlight on him brighter than the stadium lights on primetime Sunday Night Football. That kind of unconditional loyalty and desperation doesn't come easy anywhere, and especially not in professional sports. Cleveland fans would have literally carried Shedeur on their shoulders through the streets if he had delivered even the smallest glimmer of sustainable hope in winning football. But here's the harsh reality that every player who's stepped into that locker room knows deep down. The movie always ends the same disappointing way. You walk in absolutely full of fire, passion, and confidence, ready to change history, and you leave months or years later completely confused about where all your passion and belief actually went. Cleveland doesn't just test your physical skills and football abilities. It systematically breaks your spirit, your confidence, and leaves you second-guessing absolutely everything you ever believed about yourself as a player and competitor. If Shedeur genuinely wants a long, legendary Hall of Fame type career, Cleveland might legitimately be the absolute last place on earth to risk it all. History provides all the receipts and evidence you need. Just ask Baker Mayfield about his experience. He went from Heisman Trophy hype and being the #1 overall pick to becoming a league journeyman, changing teams faster than most people change their oil. Ask Deshaun Watson while you're at it. He received a fully guaranteed contract worth more than some small country's entire GDP, only to spend half his playing time performing like he completely forgot what a football even was or how the game worked. That's not just occasional bad luck or coincidence. That's a curse literally carved into the franchise DNA at the molecular level. And Shedeur, despite his youth, is absolutely no fool about any of this. He's watched this exact story play out before with multiple protagonists, and he knows precisely how it ends every single time. The Browns systematically chew up talented quarterbacks and spit them out broken before anyone even has time to celebrate properly. So instead of becoming the next tragic name on that heartbreaking list, he made a genuine power move and took back complete control of his own professional destiny. He's actively protecting his public image, carefully building his personal brand, and keeping his future legacy completely away from Cleveland's organizational chaos and dysfunction. This isn't betrayal or disloyalty in any way, it's pure survival instinct and smart business. Shedeur isn't just playing football at this point, he's playing the much bigger long game that extends far beyond any single season. His father Dayon drilled that critical mindset into him from day one of his life. The game is so much bigger than touchdowns and highlight reels. It's fundamentally about power, public image, strategic positioning, and building something that lasts. Every single choice Shedeur makes right now isn't just for next season or next year. It's for the next entire decade of his professional life and beyond. And if there's one absolute thing he completely refuses to do under any circumstances, it's permanently tie his name and reputation to a franchise that keeps consistently sabotaging its own stars and potential. That's not building a legacy worth remembering. That's creating a warning label that follows you forever. This situation represents way more than just occasional bad luck or unfortunate timing. It's a full-blown cautionary tale written in orange and brown ink that everyone in the league can read clearly. And this time around, the fallout isn't just Kevin Stefanski's personal emotional meltdown, it's the entire Cleveland fan base spontaneously combusting in perfect unison. These long-suffering fans have lived through so much consistent heartbreak over so many years, it might as well be a genetic trait passed down through generations at this point. Hope in Cleveland isn't just fragile like glass, it's a complete scam, a cruel joke that keeps getting played on good people who just want to watch winning football. So when the one quarterback who finally managed to bring some legitimate light and excitement to the city suddenly decides he's completely done before even starting, it doesn't register as simple disappointment anymore. It feels like an elaborate, cruel prank pulled directly by the football gods themselves just for entertainment. You can already picture it perfectly. Cleveland fans all over social media frantically firing up Photoshop, sliding Shedeur's smiling face right into that cursed Browns quarterback jersey meme, positioning him right between Brady Quinn and Tim Couch. Just another broken dream in an impossibly long line of football tragedies. That jersey isn't just history or nostalgia at this point. It's an active warning label for anyone bold enough or crazy enough to think they can actually survive Cleveland's organizational curse. But here's where the situation gets genuinely wild and unprecedented. Shedeur's dramatic exit isn't just a massive hit to the Browns organization and their immediate plans. It's a clear message being broadcast to the entire NFL and every team watching. Other organizations are absolutely paying attention, taking detailed notes, and quietly whispering the same thing to themselves. If a legitimate top-tier quarterback prospect with options actively wants nothing to do with Cleveland, what does that honestly say about the entire organization and its culture? It's absolutely brutal when you think about it. Like, discovering your favorite 5-star restaurant that you've been recommending to everyone has a head chef who straight up refuses to eat any of the food being served. If Shedeur Sanders, a young rising star with incredible pedigree, natural confidence, and multiple options, firmly says no thanks to Cleveland, what quarterback anywhere in their right mind would enthusiastically say yes instead? For the Browns, this isn't simply a roster issue that gets solved in free agency. It's a fundamental identity crisis that questions everything about the organization. How do you possibly rebuild a championship contender when literally no one wants to voluntarily join your rebuild? They might as well construct a giant billboard outside the stadium that reads in huge letters, now hiring quarterbacks with absolutely zero self-preservation instincts or concern for their careers. Because at this point in franchise history, that's exactly and specifically who's actually signing up. And the perfect cherry on top of this disaster Sunday, Kevin Stefanski, the man previously known around the league for being cool, calm, collected, and almost robotic on the sidelines during pressure situations, finally completely snapped under the weight of it all. The coach who barely even flinched publicly through brutal losing streaks, constant media chaos and criticism, and serious locker room leaks finally hit his absolute breaking point. The reports paint a genuinely wild picture of what happened. One moment he's the silent strategist calmly calling plays. The next moment he's flipping out like an angry parent who just discovered their teenager crashed the family car into the garage. It's the ultimate Cleveland meltdown captured perfectly. Chaos, unintentional comedy, and deep heartbreak all rolled together into one explosive scene. This meltdown wasn't simply about losing a quarterback from the roster, it was specifically about losing the quarterback, the one guy who represented everything. Kevin Stefanski's job security has been hanging on by a thread so incredibly thin it could snap completely if someone in the front office sneezed too hard near it. The Browns organization sold fans on win now dreams and championship aspirations while quietly handing them the exact same old maybe next year heartbreak they've experienced for decades. Shedeur Sanders wasn't just another player on the depth chart, he was supposed to be Stefanski's absolute last shot at professional redemption, his golden ticket out of football purgatory and into respectability. Losing him wasn't a simple roster shuffle that gets fixed in the draft, it was a full-blown career crisis unfolding in real time for everyone to witness. Picture it clearly. Stefanski wandering the empty team facility late at night like a ghost haunting his own life, clutching his playbook like it's his personal diary filled with secrets, quietly whispering to himself about the perfect offensive system that absolutely nobody will ever get to see executed. He spent countless sleepless nights drawing up routes, perfecting defensive schemes, scripting plays down to the smallest detail, and now all of it feels completely worthless. It's exactly like spending hours meticulously cooking an elaborate 5-course gourmet meal, setting the table perfectly with candles and nice dishes, only for your dinner guest to suddenly text at the last second, "Actually, I'm just hitting Taco Bell instead." Sorry, that's not just a polite rejection of an invitation, that's humiliation served with extra hot sauce and a side of public embarrassment. For Stefanski personally, this situation wasn't just business as usual in professional football. It cut much deeper than that. It was genuinely personal. He didn't casually ask or beg the Browns for a chance at this. The Browns practically begged him repeatedly to commit to the project and the vision. And for a significant while, he genuinely believed with his whole heart that this was finally his comeback story, his redemption arc. But when Shedeur walked away without looking back, he didn't just exit stage left quietly. He left the entire franchise standing there looking foolish, like a teenager who spent literally months planning the perfect prom night down to every detail, only for their date to show up with the star quarterback from a completely different school instead. It's pure heartbreak, football edition, served cold. And here's the coldest truth that somehow hurts the most when you really think about it. Cleveland was never actually Shedeur's first choice, or even his second. Sure, they rolled out the red carpet treatment, flash cameras everywhere, made big promises, and offered him the keys to the entire kingdom, but Shedeur isn't some naive rookie blinded by hype and attention. He's done his homework thoroughly, watched all the film, studied the brutal history. He knows exactly what consistently happens to quarterbacks who land in Cleveland and stay there. They don't ride off into the Hall of Fame sunset with gold jackets. They disappear completely into the football graveyard that the Browns keep accidentally digging deeper every single season. The reasons Shedeur ultimately bailed are almost too logical and reasonable to ignore or dismiss. Let's break down the reality systematically. First off, the Browns' quarterback history reads like a blooper reel with shoulder pads. Absolutely no one survives there long enough to become any kind of legend. Draft pick after draft pick gets tossed directly into the organizational fire only to get completely roasted by chaos, terrible luck, and whatever bizarre ancient curse has been haunting that stadium since its construction. So honestly and genuinely, why would Shedeur willingly sign up to become the next inevitable victim in that ongoing horror show? Second major factor, organizational stability, or more accurately, the complete and total lack of it. Head coaches in Cleveland come and go faster than Lake Erie weather changes in springtime. 1 minute you're installing and learning a brand new offensive system. The next minute your entire playbook is completely outdated because someone new is already calling all the shots from the top. There's no rhythm, no consistency, no continuity whatsoever. Just a revolving door of fresh starts that somehow end the exact same disappointing way every single time. Confusion and disappointment on repeat. And third, the massive elephant sitting right in the middle of the room that nobody wants to acknowledge. Deshaun Watson. That entire saga still hangs over the franchise like a dark thundercloud that absolutely refuses to move on or dissipate. The Browns backed up multiple Brinks trucks for him, poured in a historic mountain of fully guaranteed money, and permanently chained the franchise to that monumental decision like a ship's anchor. But let's be completely real and honest about the situation. The return on that massive investment has been rough at best, disappointing at worst. Any young quarterback stepping into that organizational mess knows exactly what they're walking into before they even arrive. Not just a typical position battle for playing time, but a political one involving egos, money, and front office pride. You're not only fighting for a starting spot on the depth chart, you're fighting against a contract so impossibly massive that the front office can't even privately admit it might have been a catastrophic mistake. That's not opportunity knocking at your door. That's a trap with team colors painted on it. So Shedeur made the move that everyone secretly wanted to make in these exact circumstances, but most lacked the courage to execute. He walked away clean, and in doing so, he didn't just protect his professional career trajectory. He turned the Browns into the punchline of the entire league once again, cementing their reputation. Around the NFL right now, players, agents, analysts, media members, everyone's nodding in agreement like, yep, that tracks perfectly, makes complete sense. It's practically an open secret at this point throughout the league. If you genuinely want to ruin your career before it even properly starts, go ahead and sign with Cleveland. But if you want to preserve your sanity, protect your reputation, and actually have a future, stay far, far away from that situation. Shedeur just did exactly what countless players privately dream of doing, but never actually execute. He firmly said no before it was too late to escape, and that power move didn't just shake up Cleveland and their immediate plans. It sent legitimate shockwaves through the entire league that everyone felt. Now everyone's watching closely, laughing quietly, and whispering the exact same thing in locker rooms everywhere. Stefanski's public meltdown, oh man, it's about to get genuinely entertaining to watch unfold. But the real comedy gold in all this organizational mess is how completely and thoroughly it has shaken up the devoted Browns fan base to their core. These poor loyal fans have been through more concentrated emotional trauma than a soap opera character who's died and miraculously come back 3 separate times. Every single season without fail, they receive just enough hope and positive signs to believe again in their hearts. And every single season, that hope is violently yanked away like Lucy pulling the football from Charlie Brown at the last possible second. Shedeur's sudden exit is just the latest devastating gut punch in a lifetime, absolutely full of them. And Cleveland fans felt this one incredibly deep. Some fans are probably already out there actively burning jerseys in parking lots, even though Shedeur technically never played a single meaningful down for the team officially. That's genuinely how emotional it gets in Cleveland sports. Heartbreak is practically woven into the cultural fabric of the city itself. Once again, for what feels like the millionth time, the Browns have become the league's absolute favorite punchline and easy target. And the craziest part of this entire situation, Shedeur doesn't even have to say a single word publicly. His complete silence is the most powerful statement possible. It screams louder than any rehearsed press conference ever could. He doesn't want any part of the circus atmosphere. And honestly, that strategic silence gave him infinitely more power and control than any touchdown highlight reel or interview ever could. By simply walking away quietly, Shedeur proved definitively that he's not desperate for any shot available. He's calling the shots himself, controlling his own narrative. In a league where young players usually chase frantically after any opportunity that comes their way regardless of situation, Shedeur completely flipped the script and rewrote the rules. Instead of chasing teams desperately, now teams are chasing him eagerly. That's incredibly rare in modern football. That's genuinely bold and confident, and that's exactly precisely why the entire league is watching him differently now with new respect. Meanwhile, back in Cleveland, Stefanski and the entire Browns front office are left holding the bag again, looking foolish. You can absolutely bet they'll try desperately to spin this situation however they possibly can to save face. We decided mutually to move in a different direction, or it just wasn't the right fit for either party, but everyone around the league knows the actual truth hiding underneath. They wanted him desperately and badly. They saw Shedeur as their golden child, their franchise savior, their ticket out of decades of mediocrity and embarrassment. And he looked them directly in the eye and firmly said, "No thanks. Not interested." That rejection hits exponentially harder than any playoff loss possibly could because it confirms what Cleveland's been running from for literal decades. They're still not the destination that players dream about. They're still not the franchise that quarterbacks actively hope to join. They're the team that quarterbacks avoid like spoiled takeout on a long road trip. And now Stefanski's entire career is dangling by a single thread, thinner than dental floss stretched over a canyon. The Browns are left desperately scrambling in pure panic mode like someone accidentally dropped the last slice of pizza at a packed Super Bowl party, and now everyone's diving for it simultaneously. The story practically writes itself at this point without any help. The NFL is constantly overflowing with drama every single day, but somehow only Cleveland can take a quarterback saga and turn it into something that genuinely feels like a Shakespearean tragedy wrapped tightly inside a slapstick comedy routine. Shedeur Sanders walking away isn't just a missed opportunity that hurts short term. It's a giant flashing neon sign hovering over the franchise that screams to everyone, still cursed, still chaotic, still Cleveland after all these years. And the ripple effect throughout the league, oh man, it's absolutely brutal to witness. Around the NFL, young quarterbacks are watching this entire situation unfold like a cautionary documentary film in slow motion, and you can practically see the thought bubble forming over their heads. If Shedeur bailed that quickly, maybe I should seriously consider it too. Agents are quietly warning their clients behind closed doors. Stay far away from Cleveland unless you've genuinely got a taste for pain and suffering and want to end up as a random trivia question about completely wasted talent and potential. The message being sent is loud and crystal clear to everyone. The Browns aren't a destination franchise anymore. They're a dangerous detour that ruins careers. Meanwhile, the fans, oh, the poor loyal suffering fans, they're right back at square one again, staring down another season of false hope with the emotional exhaustion of people who've survived 3 separate divorces and somehow still believe love can eventually work out. They've seen this exact movie too many times before, and somehow they still buy tickets every single fall like clockwork. Stefanski can rage all he wants, rant in meetings, call emergency team meetings until the stadium lights go completely out. But here's the painful truth nobody wants to admit out loud. A brilliant playbook means absolutely nothing if you don't have the right quarterback to properly execute it, and Cleveland keeps running their best players right out the door like it's an annual off-season clearance sale. Shedeur walking away wasn't quitting on anything, and it definitely wasn't fear. It was pure survival instinct. It was a genuinely smart young man recognizing a sinking ship before it catastrophically hit the iceberg everyone saw coming, and now Cleveland's desperate hunt begins all over again. Another chapter in the seemingly never-ending saga of who actually wants to be the next sacrificial quarterback. Spoiler alert for anyone wondering, that line gets noticeably shorter every single year. So while Stefanski fumes privately, ownership panics behind closed doors, and fans suffer through deja vu, Shedeur Sanders just proves something genuinely powerful to the entire football world. He's absolutely not here to join Cleveland's curse and become another victim. He's here to completely outsmart it and control his own destiny instead.